Coyle.
Honourable and cherished colleagues, I'm deeply honoured to stand with you today in this chamber to speak in support of this critical wage subsidy bill, Bill C-14. This is a bill to support workers and families, and a bill to support businesses and the future health of our economy. I would like to acknowledge contributions from Senators Ratna Omidvar and Colin Deacon to my remarks. In his April 8th news conference, Minister Morneau said, and I quote, "In the face of an historic public health crisis, we are providing historic support. These are the largest economic measures of our lifetime." These measures include this bill. Before speaking to this bill and other government measures, I would like to join my colleagues in telling you and all Canadians how grateful I am for the superhuman efforts of so many who are working relentlessly with great intelligence, creativity, and dedication to get us through this enormous and unprecedented crisis in Canada and around the world. I am grateful to our political and public health leaders at all levels whose competence inspires confidence. I am grateful for the civil service. A shout out to Rhonda Kropp of the Public Health Agency of Canada and all the vitally important civil servants we interact with on the daily technical briefings for parliamentarians. I am grateful to our skilled and brave healthcare workers, including those in mental health care, and other frontline workers in the grocery stores, the food banks, the women's shelters, the prisoner advocacy and support organizations, and especially those who care for our most precious and vulnerable fellow citizens, like my mother-in-law, Eileen Coyle, who is resident at a care home in Almonte, Ontario, which is currently experiencing a terrifying COVID-19 outbreak. I'm grateful for educators, many of whom are caring for their own children while trying to keep their students happy and engaged in learning. I am grateful to artists who show us beauty, entertain us, and challenge us to reflect at this time when we need them most. As a rabbi I recently listened to said, "This is a time to focus on comforting the disturbed and disturbing the comfortable." I am grateful for journalists who are working around the clock to keep our communities informed on public health matters and emergency response measures. I'm grateful to innovators, scientists, and entrepreneurs like my fellow anti-Ganishers, Kulbir Singh and Mike McAuliffe of Sona Nanotech, who are working without rest to develop and commercialize their COVID-19 rapid response antigen test. I'm also grateful for all of your global counterparts. You and many others are important members of Team Canada and Team Earth. I support this bill and the other unprecedented and extensive measures our government has rapidly put into place to help Canadians get through to the other side of this crisis. I was very pleased to see that this bill recognizes the importance of both the business sector as well as the charitable and nonprofit sector. Providing job security and support for operational continuation is key for both sectors. It's key for all Canadians. Honourable colleagues, our Special Senate Committee on the Charitable Sector highlighted the critical role that this sector plays in Canada and around the world. At a time when the sector is needed more than ever, Imagine Canada has estimated that charities will see financial losses this year of between $9.5 and $15.7 billion, as well as layoffs of between 118,000 and 194,000 people. That's the charitable sector. With this potentially dire and urgent situation, charities need to be supported by the right policy tools so they can continue their vital work responding to the impacts of this crisis. The 75% wage subsidy provided through this bill and described in detail by Senator Gold in his speech will definitely help many charities to keep their doors open. For this, we are thankful. There are, however, a number of other measures the sector is asking the government to consider, given the distinct characteristics of this sector. The charitable sector is asking for a whole-of-government approach and asking the Treasury Board to issue a directive to that effect. These measures they are asking also include adjustments to the way declines in revenue are calculated, charities with funding agreements with the federal government and Crown agencies would have those automatically renewed. Unspent funds from previous years would be carried over. Flexibility on how funds are spent would need to be there, and simplified reporting requirements. Yes, more offense and less defense from the government, please. A temporary moratorium on the restrictions that limit charities and foundations to only provide funds to qualified donees in order that they may form the critical partnerships required to reach vulnerable populations at this time, including Indigenous peoples. And just as government is looking at developing specialized relief for industries such as our airlines, the charitable sector is calling on the government to create a significant stabilization fund tailored to its urgent needs. Honorable colleagues, these are not frivolous asks. These are essential supports for a sector working hard every day to help fellow Canadians get through this crisis. In addition to the charitable sector, it is important that we give special consideration to our startup and growth companies. These are vital to the successful recovery and future strength of our economy. Over the decades, Canadians have dramatically increased investment in businesses like Shopify here in Ottawa, Verifin in Newfoundland, and Skip the Dishes out west. To achieve this, the federal government will need to put in place programs to unlock investment from private individuals and entities that have been shaken like all of us have been. Colleagues, I support Bill C-14, and I, like you, look forward to hearing more and being involved in further measures to address other pressing needs resulting from the COVID-19 crisis. Honourable Senators, as I conclude my remarks today, and we all plan our socially distanced Easter, Passover, Vaisakhi, Ramadan, and other celebrations, I remind us that our Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, has called for a staycation for the nation. I quote, as did Senator Jane Cordy, my fellow Nova Scotian, Premier Stephen McNeil, who has told everyone to stay the blazes home. Fellow Senators, I leave you this evening with lyrics. I'm not going to sing, don't worry, with lyrics from a famous Rankin family song. As sure as the sunrise, as sure as the sea, as sure as the wind in the trees, we rise again, yes, we shall. Of that I am confident. Merci, Walalio, thank you.